Race first. What is race first? Let's begin with the words of the most honorable himself. In a world of wolves, one should go armed, and one of the most powerful defensive weapons within reach of Negroes is the practice of race first in all parts of the world. Put your race first, like all other races do. So in this context, the race is synonymous with terms like Negro, which was the capital N Negro, which was the one of the primary terminologies which was used at the time to refer to us, even though that was being challenged at the time and we reject it today. And African, yes. So you have the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. The race, Negro, and African, yes, are synonymous terminologies within this context. The idea being that the race, as characterized by shared ancestry and shared culture, shared historical experiences, is a biocultural entity. Yes, a biocultural entity that have certain interests that are inherent to it based upon its current condition, position, and historical experience. Through what we call the Ma'afa, African people have been subjected to invasion, conquest, enslavement, colonization, and neocolonization. And this gives us a shared experience, yes, that has brought us to where we are in today's world. And so therefore, the biocultural entity also is inherently a political entity, again, with certain goals and objectives that are inherent to it based upon its current position and condition. As a result, race consciousness, yes, becomes a vital prerequisite of race first. In other words, the race must become aware of itself as a biocultural and political entity, and therefore work towards solving its problems, its own problems, based upon its own agency. And so but the awareness must come first. Every liberation movement must solve the problem of identity, identifying who and what the people are, and then from that foundation, identifying their collective interests. All right. As Papa Garvey states himself, no man can convince me contrary to my belief, because my belief is founded upon a hard and horrible experience, not a personal experience, but a racial experience. The world has made being black a crime, and I have felt in common with men who suffer like me, and instead of making it a crime, I hope to make it a virtue. So race consciousness must be accompanied by race pride. And this is important because as African people being taken through the Ma'afa, we were indoctrinated into a consciousness of self-hatred, self-denigration. Everything about being black and African was demonized, from our physiognomy, our phenotype, to our culture, our civilization. They said we never had no civilization. It was barbaric and savage, yes? And in particular, in the context of our culture, our indigenous spiritual systems. And so, in order to actualize the principle of race first, race consciousness had to be accompanied by race pride, which means the restoration of dignity to the race, the restoration of pride to what the race looks like and how the race behaves, how the race sings, dances, how the race walks and talks, yeah, how the race ceremonializes and ritualizes, etc., etc., etc. And this was imperative because of the condition of the world as we know it. Papa Garvey gives expression to this in our next quotation, which says, "The world is not in the disposition to divide the spoils of materialism, but on the contrary, every group is seeking the aggrandizement of self at the expense of those who have lost or who ignore the trend of human effort in the direction of self-preservation. The Negro, surrounded as he is, has no other alternative than going forward in the atmosphere of racial self-interest, working for the generation of the present and providing for those of our posterity. In the service of the race, the Universal Negro Improvement Association finds its program, and for its advocacy or promotion, we offer no apology. So for Papa Garvey, race first was the only logical response, the only possible logical response to what we had experienced as African people and what was taking place in the world at that time. The idea is that every race was seeking to work out its own problems to its own benefit. And in order to survive and prosper in the world, African people had to begin to do the same. This also, however, required us, if we look at race consciousness and race pride, it also meant that we had to reject the racial indoctrination of other groups of people. In this instance, particularly that of Europeans within the institution of global white supremacy, European and Western imperialism. And this rejection of whiteness was given expression in a beautiful poem that was written by a sister contributor to the Negro World newspaper of the time, and the poem is called "The New Negro Woman's Attitude Towards the White Man" by Estella Matthews. And she says, "Laugh with your lustful eyes. We will never bend our knees. The shackles ne'er again shall bind the arms which now are free. Some strike for hope of beauty, some for the hope of pride. We battle to defend our all for which our mothers died. We loathe you in our bosoms. We scorn you with our eyes. We despise you with our latest breath and fight you till we die. We never will ask you quarters, and we never will be your slave, but we will swim the sea of virtue till we sink beneath the waves." So we see that race first required us to affirm ourselves and reject consciously the psychology of the oppression of whiteness in the affirmation of ourselves.